Welcome to Mission Imperfect, the podcast about navigating the twists and turns of life and embracing the imperfections of the journey.
We're your hosts, life coaches Catherine and Kirsty, and our mission is to support you in finding your own path, your own way, with greater clarity and self trust, no matter how messy or uncertain things may seem.
We address the roadblocks that come up time and time again for our coaching clients, from acceptance and boundaries to values and well-being and everything in between.
As well as asking lots of questions, a coach's favourite thing to do, we'll be sharing thoughts and insights and offering plenty of tips, tools, and techniques for you to try.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to grab a cuppa and a biscuit and join us in getting lost in finding ourselves.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Mission Imperfect. Today we've got an episode for you about blowing your own trumpet, which I think is a great idea for an episode. So thank you, Kirsty, for coming up with this idea.
Well, I don't want to blow my own trumpet about that, obviously. Um, I mean, this actually came to mind, the idea for talking about this, because recently I finally did something that made me feel both brave and anxious. And it's going to sound really ridiculous. But what I did was I posted about our podcast on my personal Facebook page. Now, I suspect that anyone listening at this point is going, yeah, and
Yes.
the thing is, I regularly post about it on my business page, on my LinkedIn profile, but that's different because those are very much about, work and professional stuff. I have a coaching business. Mission Imperfect is a place where I talk about issues relevant to coaching clients. Obviously, it'd be crazy not to use a business page or, sort of professional platform to talk about what I do in relation to my business. I'm fine with that. But using a personal profile to tell people I've done something that I think is worthy of their attention felt very different. And in sort of considering that, I realised that it probably has a lot to do with my fear of being seen, or perhaps more accurately heard, to blow my own trumpet. Because I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, when I heard adults around me say that somebody liked to blow their own trumpet, their tone made it pretty clear that they didn't mean it as a compliment.
Yeah,
Was that your
definitely.
experience?
It's definitely one of those terms that has an immediate negative association with it. It's a bit
Yeah,
like that comment of someone being full of themselves.
yeah,
It's definitely got an undercurrent of don't brag about it, hasn't it? That if
yeah.
you blow your own trumpet or you're full of yourself, you're bragging.
Mm,
But actually, that's perhaps become a bit further to even mean don't celebrate something that you've achieved because that is is also you bragging, blowing your own trumpet.
the
It's
trumpet,
interesting, isn't
yeah.
it? It's like it's become a slippery slope, and we're not able to perhaps distinguish between what might be bragging and what might actually just be a I'm proud of something. I've done something great, something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the impression I created, or was created for me, I created for myself, bit both, isn't it? Around, people who were perceived as blowing their own trumpet was that they were showing off or considered to be showing off. And often there seemed to be a sense that what they were showing off about wasn't even really worth showing off about. Anyone could have done that or, have it if they wanted to, but what kind of person would want it was the kind of dismissive sort of attitude that when somebody was described as blowing their own trumpet.
It's
Even
a
if
funny one, isn't it? It can even be about does it on the slight flip side just serve to sort of make others feel a bit inadequate, like kind of look what I've done
yeah,
that others couldn't possibly do. This is all about how wonderful I am in relation to you, sort of creating feelings of perhaps being a bit inadequate or jealousy, perhaps.
yeah. And that sense of, dismissing someone as blowing their own trumpet is, well, that's not special. Anyone could do that. Whereas in actual fact, there's a going on behind that is, I wish I had done it, or I wish I had the opportunity to do it, or whatever. Yeah, definitely some jealousy, inadequacy, I think. Yeah, but even if the blower of their own trumpet had achieved something that couldn't be dismissed, that was worthy of recognition, it seems to me that it shouldn't be the achiever who recognized it. That to go telling people that you've done this thing felt was deemed to be a bit needy, a bit show-offy, kind of, I guess at worst, a tasteless, insensitive display of one-upmanship intended to rub other people's noses in their failure to achieve the same thing. And, who wants to be considered in that light? And I always felt uh, around this blame time thing that the unspoken implication was that it was down to others to judge your success, that you should only volunteer information about your achievements when specifically asked, and then play them down, even if others were genuinely impressed and happy for you. The whole false
Yeah.
modesty thing.
And isn't that actually really screwy? Because
Yes.
we we've talked, particularly on this podcast, about trying not to get too concerned about the judgment of others, and that actually it's our own judgment and our own voice that we need to hear. And if you actually think if blowing your own trumpet is actually just an extension of that,
Hmm.
this is almost the opposite, isn't it? Downplaying what you've done. We get very conflicting messages, don't we? And maybe that's at the crux of a lot of things we talk about. We learn to behave in certain ways, but actually some of them they can be quite limiting. And it's sad that we have this idea that if you blow your own trumpet, you're doing it to show off or make other people feel bad, so don't do it.
It's bizarre, isn't it? And I mean, you're saying there that whole load of cognitive dissonance you get going on, that being encouraged to not bother about the judgment of others, to judge yourself, validate yourself, whatever, combined with everything we picked up growing up around not showing off, not blowing your own trumpet, being humble and modest, etc. It does create a sort of it takes mental energy to resolve that. But I mean, as you were saying before around the whole sort of jealousy thing going on, looking back now at how I heard people talk about, others blowing their own trumpet, it does seem pretty obvious that there must have been quite a lot of judgment and jealousy going on. But again, I mean, this comes back again to the whole judgment thing and what's going on there. If you feel inadequate when hearing about somebody else's success, is that about them or is it about you? But we say all this, however hard, however easy rather, it might be to see what's going on behind these feelings of not wanting people to be blowing their own trumpet. It's still quite hard to break that dislike, isn't it?
Yeah.
And even harder to actually take the step of blowing your own trumpet.
Yes, I agree. And I think actually what's underneath this is a question of intention, because
Mm.
a brag or a boast to me seems to focus on downplaying others, kind of like a look what I've done that you can't possibly do. It's do you know what I mean? That brag or boast to me has a
Yes,
kind of sense of
I'm
I'm
better
better
than
than
you.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly that. So it puts the focus on downplaying others. But being proud of something you've done, I think, makes it a bit more about you as the achiever, not to the detriment of anyone else. It's just about it's a different focus to me. And that's why I think the intention, I would hope that maybe people can, maybe they can even recall experiencing the difference of, if someone saying, oh, I've got some great news. Like if someone says to you, oh, I've got great news, I've got a new job. You don't think, well, I haven't got a new job.
How very dare you? Yeah.
Exactly. It doesn't mean that you can't have one as well, because imagine their new job is actually even something you're not even at all interested in.
Yeah.
You don't suddenly feel
Yeah.
like they're bragging about their new job. You can actually feel like this is for them and you're pleased for them. I think it has a different focus. I'm not trying to make it about the topic, actually. I know I just used that
Yeah.
example just to make the point, but I think it's about the intention of bragging is the sort of downplaying of others, and the proud is about something that you have done, which is kind of more acceptable somehow. I hope that kind of makes sense.
Yes, I think it does. And with that intention, maybe the difficulty in blowing your own trumpet, I wonder if it affects women more than men on the whole.
Mm.
I mean, men, the patriarchy expects men to get out there and fight for dominance, to show what they can do, to be clear about, how great they are. That's kind of almost an evolutionary natural instinct, isn't it, for men? While women are expected to sort of practice the whole self-sacrifice thing and serving care for others. I mean, I'm not saying that those different levels of expectations don't bring problems and very, very real problems for men. But in this particular context, I think perhaps it makes it harder for women to talk about their achievements and what they're proud of more so than for men. But to get back to the point, because there is a point, more or less, um, the reluctance that so many of us have to blow our own trumpet can have quite an impact. It means that what we do and achieve goes unnoticed, obviously.
Yeah. Or even unacknowledged, including by ourselves, because we don't want to shout about it. We even sort of perhaps don't acknowledge it ourselves that much. And then
Yeah.
later on, we might think, oh, what am I good at? What have I got to celebrate? Because we haven't taken perhaps any moment to recognize what we have done.
And just going off on a little side note, having said, was getting back to the point, it's something I notice with coaching clients that often when they talk, without realizing it, they will tell you all sorts of things they've achieved, all sorts of things they've overcome, all sorts of trials and tribulations they've dealt with, the successes they've had, just in the course of talking about their lives or whatever. But when you repeat those back and say, you've just told me you've done this, you've done that, you've done that, it's pretty bloody amazing, isn't it? They go, oh, I'd
And
never
what's that
seen it
mean?
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I had never thought of myself in that light. I'd never sort of recognized my achievements in that way. It happens so often.
Mm.
But another drawback of not being willing to talk about your own achievements and blow your own trumpet in that way is waiting to be offered opportunities, promotions, jobs, whatever, rather than putting yourself forward for them, waiting for somebody else to acknowledge your suitability rather than saying, I am suitable for this. And it also means you become needy of external validation and potentially quite bitter and angry when you don't get significant recognition of what you do, have done, or can do. So that's when all those things add up, that doesn't make for a kind of particularly relaxed and comfortable headspace, does it?
No.
But I mean, you touched on this earlier, the blowing your own trumpet, the definition of it is to boast, brag, or talk proudly about your own achievements, skills, or successes. And as you say, we can probably all agree that the boasting and bragging bit, it's deeply annoying, isn't it? It's really not something any of us want to have to listen to. Pretty sure everyone's had experience with somebody who does it. I mean, for me, somebody like Donald Trump, for instance, that constant need to express how amazing they are and to tell you that everybody else thinks they're amazing too. That's just wearing, isn't it? It's
Yes.
boring. But what's so wrong with talking proudly about your own achievements, skills, or successes? I mean, is saying, I did this and I'm proud of it actually such a bad thing?
Yeah, totally agree. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think sometimes we pass up that opportunity to be proud of ourselves, to allow ourselves to be proud of ourselves for
Yeah.
fear of being perceived as blowing your own trumpet and bragging and boasting. But there are times when you have to be proud of your achievements and share them and celebrate them because you apply for a job, you're going to be asked in the application process, how are you the right person for this job? You'll be asked at the interview, how are you the right person for this job? And you have to share the things that you have done and be proud of them. So it's actually a habit that's perhaps a good thing to maintain a little bit. Otherwise, you'll get around to this and go, oh, I don't actually know. What have I done? What have I achieved?
Yeah.
And
I
not
mean,
find that difficult.
that's not really good looking interview, is it? No, I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
No, I'm not very good at anything at all. No. No, I don't
No.
know why you want to hire me, to be honest. It's probably not the most productive way to approach an interview. But this, to a very large extent, is learned behaviour, isn't it? Because as children, we will rush home telling our parents, I got a sticker from my teacher for doing good work. And you'll be excited about it. You'll want to tell people, and people will be excited for you and proud of you, and they'll tell others. And somewhere along the line, that becomes wrong, or we start perceiving it as wrong for us.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? I wonder at what point that happens and why it happens. So I've realized in this podcast, we've spoken a few times, haven't we, about things that we just sort of start to learn as behavior, as
Mm.
appropriate, acceptable, norms and so on, that actually become very limiting and constraining that we
Yes.
don't have as children. And the irony is, when, as a parent, when your child does come home with that certificate, you are pleased for them. You don't. I can't imagine parents like stop blowing your own trumpet. Not interested in your certificate. Put it in the bin. You just don't do that, do you? You celebrate with them that they've been recognised for their good work, their good behaviour, but whatever it might be, and allow them to be proud of themselves. So,
And
why
and
does
you
that
tell the wider
change?
family, don't you? I mean, my 9-year-old niece got a certificate from school for an achievement this week, and not only is it already a frame ready to go on the wall, but pictures of it were sent to all the family, and everyone was going, "Yay, that's brilliant!" And it was really lovely. In a week that's been seen some bad news and been quite difficult, to have that in the midst of it was just wonderful. And yet, would an adult have done it about their own achievement in quite the same way? Possibly not. Donald Trump
Mm,
accepted, obviously. That would have been less
yes.
wonderful.
Let's not have him as a role model though, because
Let's
as much
not.
as I think we
Okay.
want people to actually acknowledge you can blow your own trumpet, perhaps there's a way in which to do it that seems more authentic than the kind of, you know, a boastful or bragging way that might be have the
Yes.
objective of downplaying others.
No.
That's very different to celebrating something you've done. And we want people to do more of that. So, but let's not have let's not have Donald Trump in mind when we're doing that.
He will not be our role model.
No.
Having said that, next week we are going to be back with some tips, tools, and techniques for blowing your own trumpet, but with childlike joy, not megalomaniacal delusion. And can I just say that megalomaniacal is an extraordinarily hard word to say?
Yes. And you managed to do it twice. I'm really impressed. I saw it there and I was like, I'm so glad I'm not saying that.
No, I needed a bit of a run up at that, and then I was so
Yeah.
pleased with myself for actually getting it out. Right. In the meantime, we will leave you with our traditional question. What are you proud of that you don't tell people you're proud of? And if you'd like to share that with us, find us on social media. The links are in the show notes. And please share it. We would love to hear a little bit of melodic, harmonious trumpet blowing.
Yes. That sounds great. So that's it for this week. As Kirsty said, we'll be back next week for some tips, tools, and techniques for celebrating your successes. I think we'll use that
Yes.
as our phrasing. I think that's a lovely way to look at it. So until then, take care and we'll see you soon. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Mission Imperfect. We'd love to hear your thoughts on any of our episodes, especially if you've had a light bulb moment in answering one of the questions, have benefited from one of the tips, or have a suggestion for an episode topic.
And if these conversations have made you curious about how coaching could help you, please don't hesitate to get in touch with one or both of us to find out more about what we offer. Until next time, keep being imperfectly you. No one does it better.